Hey, what's up guys? It's Trevor here in the Tesla, running on FSD. Let's see, which version am I on? 12.6.4. So it's a Hardware 3 car, Hardware 3 Model 3. Up to date on software. Let's watch it get us to the West YMCA in Wichita, Kansas. If I have to intervene, I'll let you guys know, whether it's brake pedal, accelerator pedal, steering wheel, anything. I'll tell you guys. But for the most part, this car gets me around Wichita with very little to no problems. It's still got a few kinks, a few weird things, like on bridges, it'll like, you know, switch, like what's it doing right now? Why are you doing that? Come on, don't do that. Okay. It'll try to switch lanes like in the middle of intersections and like on bridges, which is definitely illegal. And see, look, what's it doing now? So it wants to get in front of this person, because we have to turn here. So I'm gonna put on the accelerator a little bit. It would have been just fine. It would have done all this on its own, but just for more convenience, unless, you know, I don't want to get embarrassed by this thing in traffic. Yeah, no, this works pretty well. Basically anywhere I've taken it, but you know, I live here in Wichita, Kansas, and it does the job. And this isn't even the most up-to-date software. You know, there's Hardware 4 cars that have version 13 point whatever. So this is not even as good as it gets currently. And Elon and Tesla have alluded to V14 coming out soon for the Hardware 4 cars. So me, along with all of the other Hardware 3 owners, are really hoping for either a retrofit to Hardware 4, Hardware 5, whatever, or continued advancements for Hardware 3. But everything that I've seen from Elon's interviews and different, you know, discussions on X is it looks like, you know, Hardware 3 might not ever get to the point where you can just let your car go and drive anywhere without you in it, which is what was technically promised to everyone by Elon back in like 2018, 2019. There's interviews of him saying that it doesn't make any sort of, you know, financial sense at all to buy anything other than a Tesla when it comes to like your daily driver, because it's going to be an appreciating asset, right? So hopefully we get there soon. Regardless, I think the stock price is going to the moon. You know, even if for some reason Elon and Tesla, they, you know, left all their Hardware 3 owners high and dry, I don't really see them doing that. But even so, like, they're still going to come out with the robo-taxi, the robo-van, the robo-van, you know, eventually. And, you know, I just, I really don't see any companies trying to really dominate real world AI, you know, the way that Tesla's doing it. And, you know, when you add in crypto into the mix too, it's just like, it makes everything really complex. And it really makes me think that like Tesla is like the hardware of the future, and Bitcoin and possibly other cryptos are, you know, kind of like going to really innovate in the financial services area. But like in the physical real world, Tesla's going to change a lot, and in the financial digital world, crypto and Bitcoin and these are going to really dominate. And it's just really cool to think about. And I like to talk about to all my friends and family members, less family, more friends. I like to try to enlighten them and try to, you know, convince them that, you know, doing your own due diligence when it comes to investing is a very important thing to do, because a lot of people just, you know, invest in the S&P, invest in like, broad-based index funds that follow the overall trends of the market. And it's like, yeah, you can do that, and you'll do well. You're going to be working until you're 50 or 60, unless you have like some sort of $200,000+ a year job in some place that has super low cost of living, and you don't have any kids, and et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, if you actually do do a lot of research, you try to figure out how to make quote unquote slaves of your money. If you guys have ever read the book Richest Man in Babylon, that's what the author describes as investing, is making slaves of your money, which, in my opinion, if you're working for the man, you're basically a slave. You're just this new age slavery is all it is, I mean, not only are you working to get someone else, rich, whoever owns that company, or like if it's a publicly traded company, then the shareholders, right? But you're also getting taxed like crazy from income tax from the government, and then let alone like social security and all the other things that are pulled out of our check, and this is just one of those things where I just record my car driving me, and I give you guys my insights, unfiltered, unedited, my insights on what I think the future is going to look like, and how you can profit off of that, because these are things that I am honestly just obsessed with. I'm just obsessed with learning about the future. I'm a very future-driven person. Yeah. There's really it's the 3 F's that I care about. It's family first, fitness probably second, and finance third. The 3 F's, right? And yeah, finance is obviously extremely important, but I do consider fitness to be more important. Not that you have to be just like super jacked and aesthetic and you just need to be like the best looking guy in the room, but like I also don't want to be 70, 75 years old dreading that I'm gonna die soon. I not that I want to live to 150 either, but it's like, if there's a way to just eat less glucose, eat less sugar, not drink, not smoke, be very careful about what I put in my body, then it's like I'm not going to be 50 or 60 and dreading turning 70, 75, because I believe the average lifespan for a male in the United States is like right around 75, and the average lifespan for a female is around 78. So I don't really have any desire to be in my 50s and 60s dreading the next decade, because anyway, not to go all negative, not to make this episode negative, but it's just one of those things that I care deeply about: family, fitness, and finance. And for the most part, this channel, Financial Liberty 2020, is about finances. But also it's just kind of my thoughts, kind of like a day in the life of, where I show you guys the improvements that FSD has, that are, the current update, the current revision of Tesla's FSD software for hardware 3. So you guys can see that I haven't intervened, for like 4 miles, 5 miles. And even the intervention that I had, I didn't even take over. All I did was press on the accelerator pedal. So FSD actually never, like the car was always on full self-driving mode. All I did was put a little bit of more acceleration to it. By the way, this is on chill mode. Living in Wichita is a pretty decent sized city. It's the biggest city in Kansas. But at the same time, it's not like you're driving in Dallas. And it's not like you're driving in a small town. This is kind of like a medium-sized city. I think the metro has around 650,000 people. So not huge, not tiny, but at the same time, like, people do tend to, I like to call, drive entitledly around here. They drive with entitlement. So for example, if you're in Dallas and you want to do a lane change, all you do is you throw on that blinker and then you go over. That's what it means in Dallas, or most places in Texas, honestly, where it's like no one owns the road. if my blinker's on, I'm coming over because there's so many people. You just don't even want to have to deal with any sort of like arbitrary things on the road happening. So people just immediately let you over, you go over, and it's a done deal. Here in Wichita, and the reason why I say that is because I used to live in Dallas. I lived there for 6 months or so. You know, I'm born and raised in Wichita. Been here most of my life, but when it comes to, you know, Dallas, that is the way people drive. And when I moved back to Wichita, I tried driving like that, and I learned pretty quickly that different areas of the country drive differently, and there's no point in trying to change the culture. The only person you're going to upset is yourself. You know, and I've worked places like that before too, where it's like some places that you work are just really, really negative, and doesn't matter where you're at in the company, it's just negative. And if you try to change that culture, it's not going to be good for you. You can try to do it, but with any common sense, you know, unless you're like really high up in management. But if you're just an individual contributor at a job, and the job has bad culture, either leave or like just get over it and kind of, you know, do what you can to tolerate it. Anyway, this is an episode about finances. So yes, Tesla and Bitcoin, those comprise essentially 100%, not 100%, but we'll call it 95% of my investments. I've got some money in my house, obviously, with some equity in there. But as far as like investments in like public equities and commodities, would you consider Bitcoin a commodity? 95% is in Tesla. It's about 80%. And then I actually don't have much Bitcoin itself, but I do have some options contracts that expire in late 2027 for MicroStrategy, as well as I do have a few shares of MetaPlanet and a few shares of Bitmine. Actually, that's a very small position for me, Bitmine, Tom Lee's company, but I do own some just for some Ethereum. Just for some Ethereum in my portfolio. Here's the YMCA right here. As you guys can see, we drove. Oh wait, I didn't really drive. We rode about 10-ish miles by 15 minutes. No critical interventions. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to invest with only money that you can afford to lose. And but also remember that knowledge is power, and that the more you learn about this world, the better off you're going to be in so many different ways. Anyway, yep, have a good rest of your day, guys.